Hello, everybody. Welcome to the info session for the McKnight Foundation Public Art Commission. My name is Taylan De Johnette. I'm a project manager and consultant with Forecast Public Art.
I'm Jen Krava, I she, her pronouns. I am the Director of Learning Grants and Research here at Forecast.
All right, sweet. We can go to the next slide, Jen. All right, so looking at today's info session agenda, I'll just give a brief introduction to Forecast Public Art for those of you that aren't familiar with us. We'll then go over some project background details related to the artist call. We'll review who's eligible for this opportunity, along with what the selection process will look like. And then we'll run through some application materials so that folks have a clear understanding what they need to submit when the time comes. And then lastly, we'll review how to submit your application on our submittable link. And then we'll go through a little bit about project timeline. Thank you, Jen. All right, so for those of you that don't know, Forecast is a nonprofit organization um, started in 1978 by artists who were interested in working in the public sphere. Forecast activates, inspires, and advocates for public art that advances justice, health, and human dignity. One of the ways that we do this is by providing grant funding, workshops, and training to artists who want to work in the public sphere. The second thing that we do is partner and consult on public art and creative projects. And we do this by helping people find and hire artists and then providing technical support for the selection process. So, similar to what we're doing today for the artist call. And then the last thing that we do is build local capacity. We share research and we gather stories. We do this through our digital publication Forward and our Change Lab. Forward is where we share how artists can affect change across sectors, and Change Lab is where we look at public art across the country and work to challenge the status quo. All right, and then we work across the country. Here are just a few locations where we've done work. We also have a super amazing team comprised of consultants like me and Jen. We have project managers, comm folks, and much, much more. All right, so let's talk about the purpose for our artist call today. McKnight is seeking one large exterior mural on their new building. The McKnight Foundation advances social justice, climate change, the arts, science, and equitable communities through grants and investments. So recently, McKnight just moved into their new building off of Washington Avenue in Minneapolis, and they desire room for people to connect and work together. The space is also designed to be eco-friendly, so it aligns a little bit more with their goals and their missions. The McKnight Foundation chose to team up with us, Forecast Public Art, to commission and facilitate the process of a new exterior mural going on their building. So off to the right, you can see their current mural there. It's very beautiful. Um, and it measures around 66 feet wide by 32 feet tall. And the purpose of this is just to bring the space to life a little bit more and reflect the purpose of the foundation. It is important to note that the mural will be installed on the building for about 3 years. All right, so let's look at eligibility and budget. So who can apply for this opportunity? So currently, right now, this artist call is only open to current or former McKnight artists and Cultural Bureau fellows. So you guys can apply as individual artists or as teams. If you guys do apply as a team, it must be led by a current or former fellow. The other team members do not need to have any sort of affiliation with McKnight as long as that leading team member is a current or former fellow. There is one commission available, and it's also important to mention that you don't need any previous mural experience to apply. And then looking at budget, so what we have down is the selected artist will receive $10,000 for this commission. This amount is inclusive of everything associated with artist fees, materials, and equipment that the artist needs to develop a digital sketch for the mural. It's also important to remember that you, as the artist, are not responsible for the fabrication and install. This is going to be completely handled by McKnight fabricators. All right, sweet. Let's look at the selection process. So we have about three phases that we typically go through in processes like this. The first phase is selecting up to three finalists. So the selection committee will take a couple of weeks just to review all of the eligible applications. They'll select up to three finalists to develop design concepts. And as those finalists are chosen, each of those finalists will receive an $1,000 stipend. That $1,000 stipend is set to cover everything associated with you guys creating a digital design. And then after that, is something that we like to do called finalist presentations with the selection committee. So the finalists will have approximately 3 weeks to develop design concepts. And during these design concepts, they'll be put into presentations where you also review your budget plans, community engagement plans, and any additional logistics related to your design concepts. And you'll be presenting these to the selection committee sometime in August. And from there, they'll be making a final decision as you get into phase three of who's selected. So again, you don't need to have any previous mural experience to create something like this, since McKnight fabricators are going to be handling everything from install to printing. The only thing that the artist is responsible for is developing a digital concept. So we showed a series of mural examples to the selection committee some time ago to establish um, sort of shared language, criteria, and themes for artists to connect to and explore in their letter of interest and as they develop out their design concepts. So we're just going to quickly review what each of those murals look like so that everybody has a good idea of where that shared language kind of originated from. All right, this first mural is actually located locally in Minneapolis. It's at the Northeast Co-op, and this is a traditionally hand-painted mural done by two artist teams. Um, and yeah, I believe this wall was 50 feet long. Sorry, Jen, I'm going too fast. You can go to the next one. This next one is a series of vinyl murals done in the London, UK, and I believe that it was installed to commemorate the opening of a new Apple store that was happening. This one is done in Ohio, and this is actually a vinyl mural, even though that it looks like it's hand painted on. It was actually rolled on, and this one was done outside of a plant store. This one is also a vinyl mural. It has a lot of cool mixed media themes going around. And this was done in Tulsa, Oklahoma, as a way to celebrate Black Wall Street. This one's another interior, yeah, it's an interior vinyl mural done at the BMO Bank in Canada. And then this one is a interior mural as well, a vinyl as well, done in the Beatty School of Business in Vancouver, Canada. And then this one is local as well. So this one is in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This is the X Games mural done by Reggie LaFleur, and I believe it's traditional hand painted on to a brick surface, I believe. This one is a series of murals done in Greenville, South Carolina by three artists that kind of celebrate the culture and the rich tapestry of folks who are in Greenville, South Carolina area. This one is an interior mural done in Utah Valley University, and it represents their student leadership involvement department. And then this one is a traditional hand-painted mural done in Detroit, Michigan. So a lot of those murals that you saw are super vibrant. Some of them have different styles and different themes going on. Some of them are hand painted, some of them are vinyl. Some of them touch on what the businesses represent. Some are interior, some are exterior. And this is just to give you guys an idea of how we developed the criterias and themes for the RFQ. All right, so let's get into how we developed these themes and criteria and actually what they are and how you can apply them to your letter of interest and your design concepts.
So the themes on the left side of the screen are what we will ask the finalists to utilize to develop their concepts. So those will show up in your concepts if you're one of the 3 finalists. But we're also asking for a very brief, quick, high level, like text sketch of what your concept might be. And that will be in your letter of interest and should also reflect these themes on the left. On the right side, you see the criteria. This is what the selection committee is going to use to select the final artist from the 3 finalists after they have presented their concept.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen. All right, so let's look at the application process and some of your guys' application materials. Going through this one by one, the first thing that we have within that RFQ that you'll need to submit is a one-page letter of interest. This shouldn't be anything more than 300 words. In that letter of interest, you'll have to detail your design approach, and this just looks like outlining your process, how you develop your ideas, and how you bring a visual concept to life. You'll also want to outline how you might involve community in the further development of your design and how you define that community. So this is really just looking at a plan to how you engage people in your design process and what that community looks like. So neighbors, residents, collaborators, and then your connection to the themes and values that the mural will share. So this is similar to what some of Jen shared in the themes and criteria on the previous slide. Um, and then moving forward to how you manage and execute projects. This is very self-explanatory, but just going into how you organize your work and how you meet deadlines. And then a brief description of your vision for the mural, including themes, visual styles, and your connection to McKnight's missions and values. So this is just painting a very early napkin sketch of what you might do for that exterior mural. All right, and then looking at submitting your bio and resume, this should also not exceed anything more than 300 words. The last thing that we'll ask you to submit is your work samples. So we're asking artists to share no more than 5 work samples to showcase your ability to create visual designs. Right. There's one of 2 ways that you can upload your work samples. So the first way is just uploading each of your images and then on a separate page, listing out the details for each sample. So that includes your name, your work sample number, a short description of what we're looking at, and then budget associated with that particular picture. And then the next thing, or the other way that we see folks submit work samples is just on one simple page or single PDF. You can have each of your work samples, and then underneath each of those work samples, you can just clearly label what we're looking at. So again, name, sample number, description, budget, etc., etc. All right, and then let's go through what it looks like for you guys to actually submit your application on Submittable. So if you guys do not have a Submittable account, you'll definitely need to make one. It is free and it will only take a couple of minutes. As you guys can see, there's directions on how to apply. Each of your application materials are listed here. So letter of interest, bio, work samples, et cetera, et cetera. These are all the things that we just went through. And then at the very, very bottom, you'll need to fill out your name, address, very basic information. It'll also ask you if you are a current or a fellow McKnight um, person. That's super important. And then you'll need to submit your very first application material, which is going to be your letter of interest. And then your bio, resume, and then as well as your work samples. You can save a draft and not submit all at once, or you can go ahead and run through the whole application and submit all of your materials and do it all at once. All right, now let's run through a little bit about timeline. So as you guys all know, the RFQ opened up June 12th. Today we have our info session, June 23rd. The RFQ will be closing in about 2.5 weeks, so that'll be July 10th. And then from there, we'll be compiling viable applications and sending them over to the selection committee to review. From there, the selection committee will select 3 finalists to move forward. And that'll be at our second selection committee meeting, August 14th. So it's also important to mention that those 3 selected finalists will receive a $1,000 stipend associated with everything um, that they need to develop those digital concepts. August 15th and August 18th are super important dates because that's when the finalists will be getting notified if they move forward. From there, finalists will need to prep their digital design concepts from August 18th to August 29th. So that's approximately 3 weeks to work on design concepts. I'll be in touch with all artists to talk a little bit more about what's expected in that presentation for day of. And then as we move around to September 10th, we'll be having our final selection committee meeting. So this is where all the finalists will virtually need to come and present their design concepts to the selection committee. And then following that, we're looking to have the final artwork installed by October. Please reach out to me if you guys have any questions. We're here to help your guys' applications be as strong as they possibly can. My email is right here at the bottom of the slide. And thank you for coming.
Thanks, everyone. Looking forward
Bye.
to your applications.